Right. Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? We are live today, and today we have a very special guest. She is, one of the experts I have known since I've been a part of a group, and she is on a mission to help individuals who are struggling with their English. Everyone has this problem of what should I speak, and what the question is always there. What if I go wrong and people start laughing at me? What if I make a mistake and people start pointing at me? But I think these are the questions everyone has. And now today we are with Jalpreen, who is an expert in communication. She has done a lot of education and she's supporting a lot of people with these challenges. And I will talk today with Jalpreen and discuss some of the questions, challenges, and how people can develop their vocabularies, how people can build their personality. We will discuss about that. We will also take some questions if there are, but if not, I think we will still continue discussing about how we can build a stronger communication pattern, which is not just a speaking pattern, but it will build your mindset and you will speak very confidently. So welcome today, Jalpreen. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Ajinkya, for the introduction as well. So I am an English language coach, and I'm on a mission to tell people that speaking English fluently is not difficult. Contrary to the usual belief that people have, I think that is the only deterrent in, which is stopping them from, becoming fluent in the language. So first, you need to think that I can speak English. I think most of the people I meet have this thing that, what if I make a mistake? I don't have enough vocabulary. I cannot, communicate fluently with people. Though I understand everything, but I'm unable to express what I feel are some common things that I get to hear.
Right.
And all I want to say is that, the first thing that you have to beat is this mindset that I cannot do it. Because if you think you cannot, you cannot. So, to start, from where you began, mindset, I think, is required for any skill that you're trying to acquire.
Right.
And it's the same goes for English. So the first thing is to develop the mindset. And in your daily practice, you have to say that to yourself that, I can speak well. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. And we need to normalize making mistakes because it is essential to make them. Only then that that you learn that, okay, this is where I'm going wrong and this is what I want to correct. So if you don't make that mistake, you'll not know what to correct, and you'll constantly be stuck in that rut of I cannot speak. So yeah
I think when you started, you've used very complicated words, because I think I don't remember one thing which I thought that will be difficult for everyone to understand. But this is one thing I've seen: when people start using very complicated words, the person starts, oh my God, what is he saying? And that builds up a mindset that what if I say something, he will laugh, right? So is it okay to use these kind of words, or is it okay to just speak normally? And what is your take on this?
I think that we should be as simple as possible. Mm-hmm. Not to say that Shashi Tharoor is doing anything wrong, but you need a dictionary when you listen. When you're hearing him talk, you're listening to him. You need a dictionary to understand him. So beats the purpose of communicating, right? So for communicating well, you need to use simple language effectively. So the aim should not be to, have like 50,000 words in your, in your dictionary, in your mental dictionary. The aim is to have good 3,000 to 5,000 words, which most of us do have. It's just that those become passive vocabulary in our head because we do not use it every day, right? So the only aim is to use those words and communicate effectively. So it's a myth that you have to use big words and to be fluent in English. Nothing. You just need a basic, simple vocabulary, and you need to know how to express or use those words in a way to express your ideas clearly.
Right.
Again, it's all a mental thing. If I think that, I need big words, I will search for those big words, and in that process lose the chain of thought and just beats the purpose of communication, like I said.
Right. About your mission, Jalpreen, why this mission specifically? There are so many other things, there are so many problems in the world. Why this specific mission? Why have you chosen this particular path?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I do get a lot of slack also for it, being and in like we are Indians, and Hindi is a beautiful, like, from being from North India, so Hindi is the most spoken language here. And so like, people can stay in their own bubble if they want to, but the truth is that English is and has become the global language, and which is connecting us all, and there is nothing wrong with learning a language. I do not say one language is superior to another language. Each language is beautiful in its own way. I think it reflects a lot of culture as well in it. So why this mission? I'll tell you why. It's a long story though, but I'll try to put it as briefly as possible. So my father comes, he hails from Pune, and he was from a school which was not a English medium, like you say, an English medium school. So he used to live in the army headquarters, and there were other officers' children also who used to play, with him. So there were these two people talking, and my dad did not understand English then, because till I think sixth or seventh standard, they did not have English. It was all a Hindi medium school. So now those boys were saying something in English which he did not understand. And a friend of his told him that, he will tell him that we are going, and, so that he'll leave and we won't have to play with him. So he could have taken it very negatively, but my dad made it a mission to educate himself in English. Right. Considering the resources were limited that time, we do not have internet, you do not have, any audio at your disposal, just the radio basic. So he, he just started taking newspapers, started reading it, though his pronunciation was pathetic, he said. So he started practicing with a friend's father. So he told him that, I would want you to speak in English with me. So it'll give me practice. So he worked himself up in a way. He was heading, he's not done his MBA or anything. He did his engineering though, but he retired as a director commercial of a very big steel plant. And one thing that he did with us, I don't know, it was subconsciously in his mind that, my children should not go through what. So there was an unsaid rule in our house, like unsaid. It was not that he told me to do so, but with my dad still, the natural language that comes out is English. I have expressed myself in English with him since I was very little, with nobody else, only with him. So, I think that's how I have a good hold. Something that I took very, it came very naturally to me, and I did not realize that's something that people want or aspire to, get. Right. So people started pointing out, oh, you talk so well, you articulate so well, you have this way with communicating things so well in English. And I said, okay, I am a very closed person. I am not a very good communicator, but because I'm so at home with the language, I understand the language, the nitty-gritties of this language as well, as Hindi. I'm able to express myself better in the language. Right. So that's, and when I saw people near me struggling, like students, like when I went to school to teach also, even my peers in corporates, telling me that, oh, wow, how do you speak so well? What school did you go to? There were other people who went to the same school, but so that got me thinking that, this is something that comes very naturally to me, and I would love to help other people who actually struggle to, improve their language skills, which is something that is, all of us have the capacity, and I think it's natural for us to pick up language. I saw the same with my daughter. So I did not teach her any grammar rules. She speaks perfect English with perfect grammar, though she does not know what is sentence structure, what is a noun, subject, verb, predicate. She doesn't understand anything, but she speaks perfectly. So this is what I want to take in my mission as well, that to understand and to learn a language, you have to keep the grammar rules away. Mm-hmm. You have to concentrate on speaking, listening and speaking. So to speak, I think we have to learn from our ears, and nothing else. Yeah. So that's why the mission started.
This is really, and I think this is one of the major pain points of most of the corporate, because I have been working in corporate since 16 years now. I've seen people struggling to speak in a meeting. For example, if you are in a meeting of 10 people, only 2 people speaks.
Yeah.
The rest of the people just keep quiet and just listen. But
Yeah.
they might have questions, they might have some doubts, but they will never, come up and speak, because this particular fear of
Yeah.
wrong, or what if the
Mm.
question is wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I always encourage people that no matter what you have in your mind, just ask the question. No question is wrong. If it is a
True.
right question, it's okay. If it is a wrong question, people will say, no, this is not relevant. But ask your question. And
Yes.
that's how I've been promoting is, do not hold yourself back in asking the question. The
True.
other thing which I was wanted to talk about, you said you've seen struggles. What are the common challenges which any individual in the world who's trying to speak faces or experiences, and they are holding them back, speaking in public? What do you think? What are the challenges, or common top 3 challenges we can discuss?
Yeah, I think the first challenge is again in our heads. That's the biggest challenge. Because you're not doing something every day, you're not comfortable doing it, right? So that automatically, sets those doubts in that I'll be wrong. What if, So the only way to get over this hurdle, as you say, a barrier in your head, is to speak every day. Find instances, make yourself an environment where you can speak every day.
Mm.
So this is the most I think the biggest challenge that you face while learning any language, for that matter, is the thing in your head that I cannot do it. Again, comes to mindset. So psychology of it is very important. I think to learn a language or to learn anything, you need to have a frame of mind where you think you can do it, and a very good why. Also, why you want to learn the language is, I think it's also very important, because that is the amount of time and effort you will put in learning it. Again, like I said, it can be language, it can be any other skill. So if the why is very important for you, why do you want to do it? It should not be to learn a language, but what will it fetch you? A good career opportunity, a raise in your salary, maybe a promotion, maybe a leadership role is what you're eyeing. So if you make your why as something bigger, you will be more motivated to learn the language. Otherwise you'll always find an excuse.
Mm.
And third, I would say the biggest challenge is, the methodology that I see that is being followed. I think, it beats the purpose of learning spoken English.
Mm.
Right. So our education system concentrates mainly on the written and the reading bit of it.
Mm.
That too not allowed reading, if I may say. It's basically writing and reading maybe, but nobody stresses a lot on spoken aspect of it. And the framework that I have to teach spoken English is very contrary to the usual way in which, again, like I have seen spoken classes that people have attended, some of my clients as well. They come from a place where they have, not once, but multiple times joined those spoken English courses, which, they promise you that you will be able to speak English in those, maybe a month, maybe, 3 months. But that is not so. Truth be told, it's a continuous process.
Right.
Every single day, if I'm reading something, I'm listening something, I'm learning everything every single day. So that, I think, is also a challenge that needs to be met. How the approach to learning spoken English, or the spoken aspect of a language, the approach is very different. So yeah.
So I think one thing which everyone thinks, like, why should I spend time in learning English, right?
Yeah.
I know English, I can speak English, but then one thing is there, I think the lack of confidence, which,
Yes.
them back to speak upfront. Public speaking is what I want to focus right now. Is like, what do you think public speaking builds a character in someone? Like, what if, for example, if I get an opportunity to speak in public, I get scared, to be very honest. Though my English is right, though my vocabulary is absolutely bang on, I have a good accent, but as soon as I'm in front of 10 people, I am gone. I'll tell you one incident. I went to my daughter's school.
Hmm.
3 to 4 years of kids, they're
Hmm.
sitting in front of me. I was supposed to read a story for them. I
Hmm.
had a book in my hand. I was supposed to read a story. I was so panicked that I skipped a page. I missed a page reading. I was sweating a lot. I don't know what I was thinking. They were not, judging me about my English, but I was scared. So this is something which is not someone has given to me. It's myself. I have that fear of communication. What do you think people like me should do to overcome this kind of fear?
See, fear is very natural, I think, as humans, and as I think as adults. A small child who they're very uninhibited. Like unko up, you just put them on a stage and they'll say anything, they'll do anything on a stage, they'll even pick their nose on a stage. They don't care. Right. So it's like a societal thing, like how we've been brought up, that be prim and proper, be your perfect self, especially in front of others. Like a common thing in Indian household, if guests are there, you should be neatly dressed, sit properly, and just talk to them nicely and don't be rude. Certain unsaid rules in houses. But I think what that does is that it puts you on a guard constantly.
Mhm.
Especially like you said, like you froze in the situation, though they were just 4 or 5 year olds. But again, the more public speaking, also, if you come to talk about public speaking, I was reading something the other day. It said that any kind of speaking should be treated like public speaking, because you're speaking to someone that is other than you, right? So you are exposing your, so if it's one person or if it's many people, it's the same difference, like same thing. So that's the first approach I thought, which was amazing, like the way he said that you should treat public speaking in a very similar manner, like as if you're talking to somebody. Okay, so you take it as a unit. So first thing is the visual you should have of the audience is one unit. So that's one audience, like one person in front of us or one audience. Second, they said the more, if you're scared of public speaking, find more ways in which you can go and make yourself uncomfortable in that situation. Because the more you will do it, the more your brain will process ways in which you feel comfortable in that spot. So you'll automatically start getting comfortable. So what I suggest to people who want to do public speaking but are apprehensive and have these fears, which is again a very internal thing, externally helping it will be very difficult. Externally, how as a coach I can help is I can give them maybe we can discuss a lot of topics or opinions, and giving the person confidence of stating their opinions. And it doesn't matter if the person before you agrees to you or not. That's not the point. The point is you have an opinion and you are giving it, and you're not saying anybody else's opinion is wrong. So you should always remember that your motive is not to hurt anybody. You are just stating an opinion that you have. It's your opinion, and what other person perceives is not your thing to carry. You cannot please everybody. So that, and I think like I had joined Toastmasters, which really helped me here in Delhi. So and that's a once a week thing, and it's made for professionals, so it's evenings. So I think people who are wanting to get into public speaking, and so I think the first it'll be a good exposure to join these kind of clubs. Or I think instead of joining English classes, like per se, you can join other classes where people communicate in English. Like even if it means joining a pottery class where communication is happening in English, I think that's a brilliant idea. And public speaking, I think the more you do it, the more you get over the fear.
Right.
So,
I think one thing I've noticed, I've seen, I've experienced myself. If I wanted to speak, or if someone wants to speak in English, they usually, or I don't know what, it's come naturally, they first think in their own language,
yes.
translate that in English, and then they speak. So, for example, if someone asks me a question, I have to think that in my regional language, translate that, and then speak. And in that moment, maybe I may lose my chance of speaking, right? So, how do you think that we people can develop a better way of answering questions, or articulating sentences, not translating it but directly communicating? What do you think people should do?
That's like a big challenge again that people face. One of the major challenges I think that comes across is that when somebody asks them a question, the first process that happens in the head is it gets translated in their regional language, and then they try and translate it back from the regional language, the answer, to English. And in this process, what you're doing is, one, translation. Second, grammar rules get mixed up because each language has its own sentence structure placements. So that makes your English sound very wrong sometimes. And also you're not fluent, because fluency comes with the thought. So it's a big thing that, and there are ways in which you can get rid of this. And I do take people through this exercise, and you have to do it every single day. So just to give you a hint of it, what one needs to do to think in a language is, one easy way is that you're sitting in a room, right? So you'll have to point at each thing and name that thing in English, because we are so used to saying darwaza, khidki. So you say door, window. So it comes naturally in your head. When you look, what should come to your mind is door, window, a desk, a laptop, a diary, a pen. So associating things with their English names is something which starts the process of thinking. The other is listening to a lot of content in English. Also, tunes your brain to think in the language. Because the more you listen to the language, the more your brain starts processing it well, is what we've seen. So, and it should not be very difficult things that you listen to, very simple things that you understand, and then gradually increase your speed. So, because, then otherwise what happens in our brain is not translation. What happens is transliteration. And there is a very thin line between translation and transliteration. Transliteration is word by word translation. So which makes no sense when, the language changes. Right. In translation, transliteration. Translation is like you get the idea and then you put it in your language. That is translation. But what happens in the mind is transliteration. That is, I went to school. No, मैं school gayi. I school went. So that changes that's what, like I was on a project with the Delhi government. So they were, wanting us to work with kids who were like 11th standard kids, you would just get out into the world where they'll have to give interviews and, apply for jobs. This was a major challenge that we faced, was thinking, oh, but ma'am, like मैं ऐसे कैसे कर सकता हूँ? Like how can I start thinking? But believe me, we had 3 months to work with them. Though I would not say they perfected English, but they became fluent in the language. Their inhibition was lost. The first thing, they lost their inhibition. Secondly, they began, listening to a lot of content in English, which helped them automatically, correct their sentence structures. Sometimes you can just give them target language in different situations, but that can only help them, if you're preparing them for something. So yeah, so that helped them, I think, improving their.
Yeah, I think maybe sometimes even if we know the process, being consistent to approach that particular process or completing that end-to-end process is also sometimes difficult, because most of the people are working, they have their family, they have their work pressure. Most of the people are working from home. There is no start time, no end time. So how should people, design this in such a way that at least, so how much time they should spend every single day, straight question, on building this, habit of training their mind?
See, I'll tell you, there, just like a ritual, like sometimes some, families have religious rituals in the morning. They'll get up, they'll take a bath, they'll pray. So it's the same. Again, like I said, the why should be, so strong that they religiously do, there is a morning practice. Every morning, if you can put in those 30 minutes And if they're very busy, even 15 minutes, but consistently put those 15 minutes every single day. And the thing is, making that practice plus constantly, like, you consciously, what you do is I see people watch a lot of YouTube, watch a lot of Netflix, or you can consciously choose and watch content in English if that is the language. So what will happen is, then it's not something that you're doing forcefully. It's something that you're trying to integrate in your life as an everyday thing. So then it does not become an effort, it becomes a daily life thing. So that is what you should aim at, to make it a well integrated part in your daily life, and not as something that you need to do every day, but it happens every day. Like, I eat my lunch, dinner, breakfast every day. So it's not something that like I think, oh, I have to do it. No, I do it because I know I have, I need to do it. I need energy for my day. So if I know I need a good career facelift, if I need to be in a leadership role, I need to know how to command in that language, I need to work on it. Nothing comes for free. Right. So dedicated effort towards that is something that I vouch by, that people who are able to commit to it 100%, just by making it a part of their life, that it's not that 3 months is what I have to learn English. No, make it a lifelong learning process. Right. But you get the results obviously in 6 months, 1 year. You yourself feel you're fluent, but you are on a road to constant improvement every single day. It's not that but you'll keep increasing your vocabulary because you've set a system in your head. You have to set your systems right, processes.
There's one more point I want to bring it up, and I think I want your opinion as well. When most of the people are working in MNCs, right? There are onshore people who are speaking in their accent.
Yes.
I've seen people struggling to understand them.
True.
And that's where they still, again, that's one of the roadblocks which I feel that limits them communicating. What should people do to make sure that they understand this particular accent or the way other people speak? And because that adds a lot of pressure in responding, that add a lot of restriction to participate. What people should do to build this particular habit of listening or understanding? Because I'll give you another example once you answer this question, but let's focus on this. How should people build this habit of listening different accent? Not even the US, maybe UK, they have different accent. Australian, they have a different accent. So how should people build this?
Yeah, that's true. I think that's also a problem that very recently I had with somebody I was working on. So it came from a senior in the organization, and she noticed, because she's from US, she noticed that her co-worker here in India does not understand her accent well, and is responding in a way which is not, he's not comfortable responding to her, and feels inhibited sometimes. So instead of just escalating it, I thought it was wonderful of her to try to find a solution for it. So what we did was, in a month's time, in a month time frame, you cannot teach anybody the language, but what you can do is, again, training their brain, training them to become accustomed, giving them a way in which he can understand. So he was particularly working towards attaining an ear for American English, because that's how he wants to communicate with the people there. So again, it begins with a lot of audiobooks which are in very freely available as well. It's not that you have to invest in anything. They're very freely available on YouTube. Also a lot of TED Talks, particularly from the field he belonged to. So what happens is, it's a two-way thing. Not only is he getting accustomed to the accent, he's also attaining vocabulary pertaining to his sphere in which he belongs. So it gets very targeted then, when you're addressing this one particular issue. Then you have to first know what accent are they trying to think. So you work on that. So I curate that then accordingly. So listening, TED Talks is a great way, I think, for business, because you can find, talks pertaining to that particular genre, if you might say. So vocabulary gets built. Also, accent. He not only picks up the accent, but also the rhythm of the language. So every language has a rhythm.
Great.
Yeah. And like French is very different. So I studied French as well. So I love languages. I love learning a language. And again, approach to a language, I do not use any regional language because I think Hindi is most common. I try and avoid using Hindi when in class.
Right.
The process becomes very difficult for the person whom I am coaching. Initially, yes, because they want to, because that's comfort, like you want to get back to it. But that's something that I learned. I don't know if you're aware of Alliance Française. It's an institute by the French government where they teach French to people here in India. So they had a set rule that no one speaks in English in that institute. So right from day one, like you enter, you know zero like French, but the teachers there are communicating, because communication is not restricted to verbal. It's non-verbal as well. So she said bonjour. So we were just looking at bonjour. You understand? Bonjour. So like bonjour. Like, then she says, okay, asseyez-vous. Asseyez-vous. So we were all standing, and she said asseyez-vous, and we sat down, right? So something like that. So but they do not. So she would give us the sentences. She would take the book, use the help of the pictures, take cards, everything, but not use the language. Again, using a second language to teach a language, again, makes your thinking slow. It makes you think in your regional language. So beats the purpose then of, so again, that's one thing that I want to point out, that, we need to use the language that we are targeting to learn, only that language, and not use any other language as a support to understand. Yeah,
makes sense. I would like to add a very funny incident. But so I've seen many people watching Netflix movies and all that.
Yeah,
I had friends over my place on weekend, and we started an English movie, and one person said, "Start the subtitles."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Why? Are you watching a movie or subtitles?" So he's like, "No, I'm reading the subtitle, but I'm also watching the movie." I was like, "Come on, remove the subtitle and watch the movie. Watch them speak, then you will understand what they're speaking." So this is one incident but I feel that people still restricting themselves to just understand the language because of the accent. They need subtitles. That's what I was want to add.
But you're right. There's nothing wrong, like if you're trying to pick up a language, that's one of, and it's an effective way to do it, is watch a particular scene in a movie with the subtitles on. So you read the subtitles, and the second thing what you do is you again replay the scene without the subtitles. Okay. So it should be like, if you're using that movie as a learning process, there are ways in which you can learn spoken English from one movie, and it was such a beautiful process, because you not only are like I said, language is a very cultural thing also. So you need to understand the references, and it's not only about getting a vocabulary, it's about learning those phrases, those idiomatic phrases, if I may say. जैसे हिंदी में मुहावरे होते हैं, so they cannot be translated to another language. The gist goes away, right? So idioms are one of the greatest ways to understand the nature of a language, the culture of a language. And again, one way to know whether you are comfortable in the language is that you're able to get jokes in that language, because there are various references and jokes which only people who understand a language thoroughly can actually gather.
Makes sense. Yeah, true. I wanted to talk about the important topic of your book. What is it all about?
Again, I think through my book, I want to discuss this process of learning this language, of learning English, spoken English per se. So I wanted to be a read for people who are who are willing to learn this language, and I want to give them a way to do it step by step. Instead of going helter skelter everywhere, I'm going to give them a process which, if they follow, is any language which they would want to learn, they would be able to master that language. So again, mastering yourself is equal to mastering anything in life. Right. So it comes to that. So my book would also talk about step by step. So what I'm trying to do in my book is, trying to structure it. Mm-hmm. So, trying to tell people that, like there's some portions, if I may discuss, that, various steps, getting rid of all the myths, for example, like, you talked about a couple of them. So, then learning phrases and not words. So I want to, educate them as to how they can do that. Not just learning the word, but the context of the word. So, many times we see that, we do, learn a lot of words. Like, if you're reading something, we'll underline it, we'll see what meaning, and then we'll forget because we are not using it. But if you read the same word in a story, for example, like I still remember this word called vindicated. And I was pretty young when I read that word in a newspaper. I asked my dad, it was talking about some Jayalalitha being, she heard something vindicated. So the context, he told me to look it up in the dictionary, and then he told me to read the paragraph again. And believe me, I can never get that word out of my head because I read it in context to what is happening. I read it again. And that word never leaves my active vocabulary, though I may not use it. So to build an active vocabulary, one should try not to learn words in, like one here, one there, like 5 words. You can make it a practice of, doing 5 words a day, but there's a process which you follow in doing that as well to retain it. Because end of the day, you need to retain them to use it effectively. Again, not saying that you have to learn big words. You can do with a minimum vocabulary, but it should be active vocabulary, not a very passive vocabulary that you have to look for in your brain. So then I want to also point out that grammar, when you're wanting to do spoken English, you should keep grammar aside. Not get into grammar rules. That'll slow you down. That'll beat the purpose of becoming fluent in the language. And I want to people to know that it's okay to keep the grammar rules aside for the time being and concentrate only on learning how to speak. Right. And that will come by listening a lot. So learning with your ears is something which again I want to point out in my book. And what else? I just also, I think being repetitive, making it, like I said, a daily ritual kind of thing, repeating those practices. So I have jotted down some practices, which they can make as a daily practice, a morning. So maybe, the second book is like a workbook that I'm coming up with, which, will be a 365 pager, 1 page a day of things that they need to do. So that is also something that I'm working on right now, which will be like a hand-holding thing for them. Like, though I'm giving the process, but I can also give them a hand-holding thing, which, they can do every single day. So even just doing the tasks for them, like listing the tasks so that they don't have to think maybe. So, so also I think grammar, once you start learning things by listening, grammar comes very unconsciously and very intuitively. Like you will unconsciously start speaking like a child does. Nobody tells them, I don't think we, I mean, we never talk to a child like, oh, okay, ye verb hai, ye sentence hai, isko aisa bolna hai. No, we just point to things. Some, they start speaking in words, they start associating things, and then they start making coherent sentences automatically. So it's the same way with adults. It's a slow process, but when it picks up speed, it's the fastest thing and the most, it retains in your brain. And also, I think stories and, again, like I said, audiobooks, listening in context, TED Talks are a great way to building not only your vocabulary, but also your, how you speak. And also, getting the tonality and the rhythm of the language as well. So listening is an important thing. So that is what I want to cover in my book, about a lot of, what are the various tips and tricks that, and they're not very difficult. Like I said, learning a language is not difficult. The process needs to be right. That's what I'm talking about in my book.
I think what I get to, what I understand about your book is it's not only going to help people learn English, but it will help people to learn any language, right? It's a
Yes.
framework which you've designed. If people follow it, any language can be learned. Is that fair understanding?
Yes, yes, why not? So instead of English, you just put the name of the other language. It's like that. So it's an approach to learning a language, I think, which in a broader perspective, yes, that is what I would like to say. Yes.
Well, I think so. When are we expecting the book?
Uh, I am targeting September.
Okay.
Yeah. So September the book releases. Yes, the cover is out and everything. I will share it soon on LinkedIn as well. So very happy with how the progress is going, and yeah.
Cool. I want to move next, focus on your program process, or maybe how are you helping individuals? Like, what exactly is your program process, and how people can reach out to you for help? Is there a way? Is there a medium? What is your program process in short?
See, like I said, right now, what I'm trying to do is address individual needs, because different individuals come with very different needs. So, and especially people, see, I can cater to, like if I'm going to a school and, maybe talking to a school, uh, kids, or I wouldn't say kids, but, like adolescents now, but, they have their own, they are still in that sphere where they are learning, they're in a school, right? So they're in that medium. And when I go there and take workshops, it's, for them, getting that into a process, it's pretty, easier than a person who's in a corporate.
Right.
Like we get busy, we have things to cater to, so for them the process is very different. I cannot give them a vocabulary list or something to memorize, but what I can give them, like I said, is a daily ritual which they can do on their way to office, or even while watching a movie. So everything becomes a learning process, again, intuitively and unconsciously. So working with individuals and addressing a particular need, especially when you are getting into a leadership position or wanting to. So you need to know like what kind of books you need to read, what should the tone of your language, how to tone up or down your language, your tone of the language that you're speaking. So communication skills come, you know, in like they're step by step, they come hand in hand, the communication and English. So because communication may a big barrier is language barrier,
Right.
right? So you need to understand English in order to communicate well in that language. So like I said, very recently was again the accent training, getting them accustomed, so it was a specific problem that I was needed to solve that problem. And similarly, like for corporates, I would say even written communication is a big thing which I have addressed. So it is email communication, or even communicating within the not only with clients, but with the seniors and people in senior positions. So people are apprehensive even about presenting, giving a presentation in front of a boardroom. So working on those skills, like you said, the fear of what if I get wrong, what if I speak something which is not good English. So there is nothing called good English. It's about how well or how comfortable you are in speaking. So the more you speak, the more fluent you will get. Otherwise, the first full stop is thinking that you'll get wrong. You'll not even try.
Right.
So those are the problems, and I mostly right now out of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has gotten me a lot of people getting in touch with me. So yeah, that's anybody who would want to get in touch can directly message me on LinkedIn, and we can discuss their problem and find a solution for it.
Right. So are you working with one-on-one individuals, or you're doing a webinar or things like that, so that a group of people can join and things like that? What's your plan? I mean,
I am planning on a webinar soon. Though right now I am doing one-on-ones. So one-on-ones is what I'm working on, and but like I said, for corporates, like a 3-day workshop works, because they're addressing like a common problem that all maybe their employees are facing. So yeah, so that's what but I'm wanting to, target a lot more people, because I want to impact as many people as, I can, and help them. Yeah.
True. So yeah, I think I've been looking at people who are trying to find people who can help them, building their English vocabularies, writing techniques. For example, you said that email etiquettes, right? There are a
Yeah.
lot of email etiquettes which we need to learn.
Yes.
Writing in corporate is one thing which is very important. For example, minutes of meetings.
Yes.
Seen various versions of minutes of meeting, and I think there should be one way or a very structured way of defining what a minute of meetings should look like. And because see, what I understand is minutes of meetings are something which is for the people who could not join the meeting, or just to keep a track of or a documented evidence of what exactly was discussed and what's our next steps, right? There are people who just misunderstand this concept of minute of meetings, and they just leave it as just add random information and that's it. So I believe that writing English, reading English, listening English is very important. I also want to add that you said that listening English, Audible is one tool which is available on all of the different phone devices.
Yes.
There's an Android version, iOS version. Audible is There are a lot of free books which are available on Audible. So guys, download Audible. This is an Amazon app where there are so many books that are available for you to listen and start building your listening capability, right? You said that we can watch TED Talk as well. I am sure every one of you have a subscription of a DTH, right? So this Fire Stick and all that, they have a dedicated channel of TEDx. So download that dedicated channel of TEDx and you'll find amazing TED Talks related to your topic. If you want to build yourself as a communicator, how should you talk, mindset, entrepreneurship, right? Habits. There are so many different genres which are available within that TED Talk channel. I think everyone can download it. It is available for free. So I think these are the information which I would like to add, which what already Jalpreen has told us. Any last minute information, Jalpreen, which people can start implementing right now and see results, maybe instantly or sooner? What people can do right now to start building their vocabularies or communication?
See, like I said, vocabulary is a very ongoing process. But to see an enhanced, like you said, like thinking in English. So I think the best way is to go to the kitchen, maybe take out all the spices and associate all the names of spices in English, right? Try and do your daily, whatever daily routines you do, like like getting up, going to the bathroom, and getting ready. Try and think about what you did, or write it down, or speak it up, like in English, like what you did. You'll try and correct yourself. You can look it up on the internet, like easily available. We are in the information age. Like, I think it should not, nobody should stop learning. It's so much learning that can happen. So that, and also one thing about being fluent, the physical, we talked about the mental fluency a lot. There's something called physical fluency as well that I want to maybe the last bits that I can talk about is how to train the muscles that to utter that sound. So end of the day, we are all making sounds, right? So you need to get your muscles, the muscles around your mouth accustomed to making those sounds. So that will only happen if you speak.
Right.
So one thing that I would like to leave everybody with is a small exercise that I want them to do for 1 week, and is called the mirror exercise. So they have to read like 5-6 lines. They can be they should be easy lines that they can talk really fast, and they should do it like 5 times at given one given point of time. So you read that paragraph and then you keep increasing your speed. So it's not that you have to hear it and understand it, but you just have to keep speaking it.
Okay.
So it's a 5-minute thing that you do every day 5 times. So try and improve on your time. You can have a stopwatch. You need to try and read that paragraph as fast as you can. So that improves your physical fluency a lot, and you'll see that you are able to, speak more. Your mouth becomes more accustomed to speaking in English. It's freer. The speech is freer, is what they'll notice. Yes.
So I think you're saying that you have to train the muscle.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And for vocabulary, there is a book that if I may suggest, it's something that, it helped me a lot, because I learned words, from their roots and, as groups. So the recall is higher.
Right.
So it's called, I think, Word Power Made Easy. It's by Norman Lewis. So this is a book, I think, which I hold very dear to me. There may have been many more new additions to it, but I have a very old edition. And it's a great way to build up your vocabulary. If someone's looking to build their vocabulary, I think Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. I think I would love to suggest that book to anyone who would want to.
That's great. So yeah, I think this was a really great discussion, Jalpreen, and I'm sure that people who are watching this or maybe watch later will have an good experience of, or maybe at least understand a framework, how they can build their vocabulary, what are the common challenges, what are the tools and techniques which we should use to build our vocabulary and communication. And I'm sure I will share the details to reach out to Jalpreen, guys. So please check out any information related to how you can reach out to Jalpreen. Reach out to her, ask your questions, and build your vocabulary. And I'm sure that in the corporate world, I believe 90% of your job is communication. So if you build your vocabulary, your confidence, your way of speaking, I think that adds to your personality, and people start looking up to you, reach out to you more, and then you build your visibility in front of others, in front of anyone, like your family, your friends, your colleagues. So reach out to Jalpreen. I'm going to post details about her webinars, her details about where you can reach out to her, book her time, talk to her, discuss, and build your character. So, and thank you, Jalpreen, today for giving us time, giving us knowledge, and sharing your experience of how we can build our communication. And it was really great talking to you.
Thank you so much, Ajinkya, for this opportunity as well. Thank you. It was lovely talking to you.
All right, bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.